Okay guys, so welcome back to Let's Learn Economics. On today's episode, we'll be focusing on foreign aid and its potential and effectiveness. Okay, but first, what is foreign aid? So foreign aid refers to resources such as money, clothing, food, and even medical supplies given to improve living conditions and support economic development. So these resources are often provided by rich countries to the least developed countries. But to fully assess the efficiency of foreign aid, we must define economic development. So for less developed countries, the ultimate goal is to promote economic growth through factors such as education, quality of institutions, investment, or even human capital. So now that we set the context, we can go in detail and ask ourselves, is foreign aid really that efficient?
The fundamental problem of it is that we all know that foreign aid does not always fully reach the recipient country and the people who really need this help. Think of yourself who are tempted to give a bit of money for charity purposes. Most people are not completely sure that the money is being used for the purpose of the ones who really need it. A main issue of the effectiveness of foreign aid for less developed countries is the dependency of those countries. In our context, dependency means the reliance of less developed countries on foreign aid. But what are the reasons for that? Due to the low levels of economic development, the high rates of poverty, and the susceptibility to external shocks, LDCs are heavily reliant on foreign aid, which helps LDCs handle the development issues and increase resilience by providing essential financial resources and relief during emergencies. Excessive dependence on financial aid can lead to economic instability for LDCs. Fluctuating or decreasing aid flows can lead to budget deficits and fiscal imbalances. Countries will not be able to plan for long term, which will hamper sustainable economic growth. Another economic implication is that excessive reliance on aid causes discouragement among domestic industries and hence impacts negatively the local producers, which in the case of LDCs already have a tough day-to-day life. Aid often includes the provision of goods and services from foreign sources, which may compete with local producers and undercut their prices. These subsidies can prevent domestic industries from competing on price and quality. As a result, local producers may find it difficult to generate sufficient income to sustain their businesses. There will be less investment and consumption for local producers. This results in a hindrance for economic growth. Foreign aid, therefore, does not look at effectively helps less developed countries.
The second reason why foreign aid is not always efficient concerns the incentives of donor countries. In fact, recent literature has confirmed that very often aid hides self-interest behind it. Donor countries tend to send more resources to countries that are of strategic importance in terms of security, geopolitical position, and economic interests. By giving assistance, they encourage the recipient nation to develop advantageous trading circumstances, such as lower tariffs, fewer trade obstacles, or privileged access to markets. The industries of the donor nation can gain from these trade agreements by increasing export prospects. Donor nations also offer LDCs military assistance in return for access to their natural resources. By reinforcing the recipient's military capabilities, the donor nation secures regional stability and security, enabling safe resources extraction. As a result, the industries or energy requirements of the donor nation are guaranteed a steady flow of resources. But are donors really donating to LDCs, or do they have another line of reasoning? Donors actually choose to allocate ODA through strategic alliances. Let's look at the example of the conflict in the Middle East. Israel is a country that receives massive aid from nations like Italy, France, Austria, and of course from the United States. On the other hand, when we look at Egypt, which has strategic alliances with the United States primarily, we find that it usually receives assistance from the European countries mentioned above.
But foreign aid often faces obstacles in achieving its desired impact due to weak institutional frameworks in recipient nations. These challenges make it difficult to manage and distribute aid resources effectively, resulting in hindered economic outcomes. Corruption and lack of transparency within governments divert aid funds away from crucial sectors like education, infrastructure, or even healthcare. As a result, the economy remains stagnant, therefore perpetuating poverty and hindering sustainable growth. Unfortunately, the intended benefits of foreign aid often do not reach those who need it most. This undermines public trust and perpetuates a cycle of poverty and dependency. And although the country receives substantial amounts of foreign aid, the weak institutional framework hinders the effective allocation and use of these resources.
Foreign direct investment is a tool that shares similarities with foreign aid, such as providing financial resources and contributing to a country's development. There is still a debate ongoing on which instrument is more efficient, but foreign direct investment can have a transformative impact. Companies investing in new markets or expanding operations generate job opportunities for locals. Then they stimulate the local economy by increasing demand for goods and services from suppliers in recipient countries, because they require input from locals, which leads to increased demand. While aid can provide short-term relief, foreign direct investment offers a pathway to sustainable economic growth. By embracing private investment and nurturing internal trade, we encourage developing countries to chart their own course toward progress.
It is clear that foreign aid frequently fails to achieve its intended objectives. Not only most of the times it is misallocated, but when it reaches the countries that are truly in need, benefits accrue especially to the donor. Most of the times, actually, it harms local economies, discourages self-sufficiency, and because of corruption, funds are diverted away from their intended purpose. Of course, aid is useful, but without that it is efficient, or at least not yet.
Okay, so now that you've watched the whole video, it's time for a pop quiz. So, is foreign aid really efficient for LDCs?
No!
Okay, really enthusiastic there. So it's safe to say that you got the point then. Don't forget to tune in for next week's episode. Goodbye!